What good is it to reach 60 with experience, with hard-earned grey hair, and with a body asking for calm, if you still let just anyone walk into your life and clutter your mind? At this age, you're no longer here to tolerate people who drain your energy, dump guilt on you, fill your head with noise, and then act like they're doing you a favor just by being around. Peace isn't something you find, it's something you defend, and you defend it by choosing carefully who you allow into your days. Stay with me. Gabriel here. Welcome to the Stoic Garden. Today we're going to go through 8 types of people you should avoid if you want to live in peace, and you'll walk away with a clear filter to protect your time, your energy, and your dignity without feeling cruel or guilty. And when we reach the last point, you'll understand why your best company doesn't always come from outside, and that changes your whole life. Let's begin. 1. Avoid the person who constantly complains and drains your energy. I'm not talking about someone who vents one day because life is squeezing them. That's human. I'm talking about the professional complainer, the one who sits down with you and within 5 minutes has turned your afternoon into an emotional dumping ground. Everything is unfair, everything is terrible, everyone is wrong, and somehow he's always the most misunderstood victim on the planet. What's dangerous about that person isn't just what they say, it's what they install in you. Because constant complaining is contagious. It starts training your brain to see problems where you once saw solutions, to expect disappointment, to walk around with a tense body as if life were a daily fight. And at 60, your energy isn't infinite, your patience isn't either, and your time is far too valuable to spend it listening to the same recycled lament. On top of that, the chronic complainer doesn't come to talk, they come to unload. You're not a free therapist or a container for someone else's frustrations. And the most ironic part is that when you try to help, they get annoyed. Because if you offer solutions, you take away their character. If you give them responsibility, you take away their excuse. So they return to their usual role, their sad story, because that's where they feel comfortable. And here's where it helps to ask yourself an uncomfortable question in the middle of the conversation, even if only in silence. Does this person want to get better, or do they just want company while they keep sinking so they don't feel alone? Because if all they're looking for is an audience, you're paying the admission with your peace, and that price over the years becomes ridiculously expensive. The Stoics understood this without much drama. Marcus Aurelius, who wasn't exactly a motivational influencer but an emperor dealing with wars, wrote something that sounds like a direct alarm for this topic. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Therefore, guard carefully what you allow to enter your mind. And tell me, what kind of thoughts are you left with after spending time with someone who feeds on bitterness? This isn't about humiliating anyone or cutting people off with violence. It's about setting a clean boundary. You can listen for a bit, acknowledge without getting pulled in, and then shift the direction. If they insist on returning to the same negativity, you can calmly say that you're not interested in conversations that revolve only around the negative. At first, they'll be surprised, of course. They were used to you being their loyal dumping ground. And if you feel guilty, remember this. You're not abandoning anyone, you're simply stopping the abandonment of yourself. Because every time you stay there, swallowing that poison out of politeness, you're training your own body to live in tension. Peace isn't built on "I'll endure it," it's built on "I choose." In fact, the person who constantly complains often comes with another package included, one that doesn't just drain your energy, but ties you up with guilt and presses exactly where they know you'll give in. And there, if you don't open your eyes, you end up living to calm someone else's drama instead of living your own life. 2. Stay away from the manipulator who controls you with guilt and pity. This person doesn't always yell or insult you. Sometimes they even seem sweet. They speak with a sad voice, remind you of everything they've done for you, and paint you as the villain if you don't give in. And you, because you're a good person, because of politeness or habit, end up doing things you don't want to do just so the other person won't feel bad. The manipulator doesn't ask, they collect. They collect your time, your peace of mind, and your emotional freedom. They call you when they can, which really means when it suits them. And if you don't answer, the theater begins. Nobody loves them. They're alone, you're not the same anymore. What a coincidence, they always press exactly the button that hurts you most: guilt, compassion, the fear of being a bad person. Guilt is the hook and pity is the bait. And once you bite, they've got you, Because once you give in, the pattern repeats. Next time it will be easier, and the next easier still. Until one day you realize you're living with your phone like it's an alarm, measuring your decisions by someone else's mood, thinking about their reaction before your own dignity. In the middle of that game, stop for a second and ask yourself this question without dressing it up. Are they asking for love, or are they demanding emotional obedience? Because real affection doesn't make you feel like a hostage. A healthy bond doesn't need blackmail. Family, friendship, even a partner, none of these are licenses to manipulate. There's a phrase the manipulator considers blasphemy. No. No long explanation, no dramatic story, no defending yourself like you're on trial. I can't. It doesn't work for me. It's not good for me. Period. At first they'll push back, of course. They'll say you've become cold, that you've changed, that now you think you're better than everyone. Funny how the moment you start respecting yourself, you suddenly become selfish. And here's the detail few people accept. If someone only wants you when you give in, they don't want you. They want what they get from you. They want your energy, your availability, your emotional wallet. That's not love, that's consumption. You're not a gas station where someone arrives empty, fills up and drives away. Set limits without fighting. Respond calmly and repeat your decision without stepping into the mud. Don't argue about the drama, don't try to convince them. The manipulator feeds on your explanations because that's where they find cracks. And if they get angry, if they play the victim, if they threaten to walk away, let them. Sometimes the trash takes itself out when you close the door. And when you finally free yourself from someone else's guilt, another type of person appears who is just as dangerous, but more silent. They don't manipulate you with sadness. They watch you with a fake smile while competing with you and waiting for the moment you fall. That's the one many people discover too late when the damage is already done. 3. Distance yourself from the envious person who competes with you and celebrates your fall. This is one of the most dangerous types because they're not always easy to spot. Sometimes they disguise themselves as a friend, a close relative, someone who says, "I'm only telling you this for your own good." They smile while you talk, but inside they're keeping score. If you improve, it burns them. If you rise, they feel like they're falling behind. And worst of all, it's not enough for them to do well. They need you to do worse in order to feel at peace. The envious person doesn't applaud your achievements, they minimize them. If you buy something that took you years of effort, they say, "Well, I hope it lasts." If they see you energized, they ask if you might be overdoing it. If something goes well for you, they quickly remind you of an old mistake, as if they've been waiting for the chance to say, "See? I knew it." And when you stumble, that's when they appear quickly, but not to help you, only to confirm their story. They feed on your fall as if they can finally breathe. In the middle of that relationship, it helps to ask yourself something very simple. Does this person sincerely feel happy when things go well for you? Or are they only comfortable when they see you dimmed? Because if your joy bothers them, there is no friendship there, only disguised competition. And at 60, competing with the people close to you is an expensive stupidity. It steals your calm, your confidence, and pushes you to hide parts of your life so you don't trigger resentment. The Stoics were very clear about this, even if they didn't use the word envious the way we do today. Seneca, a man who knew power, false praise, and social cruelty in Rome, said that envy is a punishment the envious person inflicts on themselves. And it's true, the envious suffer because of your success, which turns you into their personal torment. Now here's the serious question. Why would you stay close to someone who sees you as a threat? The solution isn't always a confrontation. Sometimes it's enough to stop sharing your plans, stop seeking their approval, stop placing your life in their hands, reduce their access, replace closeness with simple politeness. And if they keep spreading poison, the right move is to step away quietly, with the same firmness you use when closing a door against a cold wind. And be careful, because the envious person often comes with a twin sibling, the disrespectful one who doesn't need to compete, they just need to knock you down with jokes. That one doesn't envy you silently, they hit you in public and expect you to smile so you don't make it a problem. 4. Do not tolerate the disrespectful person who humiliates you with jokes and criticism. This is the one who pokes at you and then hides behind laughter. They throw comments about your age, your body, your decisions, the way you speak, and when you feel uncomfortable, they finish with the classic line, "Come on, you can't take a joke anymore," or "I'm just kidding." How convenient, right? They disrespect you and then blame you for reacting. At this age, you should already understand something. A joke that makes you feel small is not a joke. It's an attack wearing makeup. And if you normalize it, if you laugh out of politeness, if you swallow the discomfort just to avoid making a scene, you're teaching the other person that they can do it with you. That you're the cushion where anyone can dump their frustration. In the middle of one of those little jokes, when they've already poked you for the third time, ask yourself this: why do I have to pay with my dignity just so someone else can feel funny? Because that's the real transaction. You lose respect so they can gain attention. And if there are people watching, it's even worse, because it turns into a social habit. The joke always has the same target, and somehow that target is you. The boundary here isn't a long speech or a threat. It's a short, firm sentence said calmly. Don't speak to me like that. That's not funny to me. Not with me. And if they keep going, you stand up, change the subject, or leave. Yes, you leave. Because staying just to be polite while someone humiliates you is like standing in the rain so the weather won't think you're rude. And if the little voice in your head says, well, that's just how he is, let me stop you right there. That's how he is because people have allowed it. Respect isn't begged for. It's established through action. And when you change the rule, some people adjust, and others walk away. And if they walk away because they can no longer mock you, they just did you a favor. The disrespectful person doesn't only hurt with words. They also open the door to something more practical and more selfish. The one who shows up when they need something, squeezes you dry, and disappears the moment you need support. That one doesn't humiliate you with jokes. They use you like an ATM with a heart. 5. Avoid the parasite who only shows up to ask for money, favors, or a place to stay. This is the one with a supernatural radar for sensing when you're finally at peace and showing up to complicate your life. They don't call to see how you're doing. They don't visit to share. They don't show up to add anything. They show up when they need something. And if you give in once, they've already stamped a label on your forehead, available resource. The parasite is an expert in two things, urgency and amnesia. Urgency so you don't have time to think and just hand over what they want. And amnesia so they forget what they owe you, what they promised, what they said they'd return. It's just this once. This is the last time. I swear on whatever they need to say, and you, just to avoid conflict, become the lifeboat for someone who has no interest in learning how to swim. At 60, this is especially poisonous because you're no longer building from scratch. You're protecting what you worked for. Your home is not a shelter for someone else's chaos. Your money is not a permanent rescue fund. Your energy is not meant to lift up someone who keeps throwing themselves down on purpose. And be careful, because the parasite often disguises itself as family, as a friend of a lifetime, as poor thing. That's where they trap you. They turn your kindness into an obligation. Epictetus, who was a slave before becoming one of the great Stoic teachers, put it with brutal clarity for someone who knew what it meant to have no external control. If you hand over your inner freedom for external things, you become dependent. And it applies here too. Every favor you do because you're afraid to say no, every dollar you give just to buy silence, every roof you offer just to avoid feeling guilty, it steals your peace from the inside, even if from the outside it looks like help. Set boundaries with the same seriousness you use when locking your door at night. You don't need speeches, you need consistency. If you lend, let it be only what you're willing to lose without resentment. If not, don't lend. If you let someone stay, do it with clear rules. If not, don't open the door, because the parasite isn't offended by your no, they're offended because their access is gone. And when that access disappears, another character often appears, one who also lives off access, but not to your money, to your information. The one who takes any detail about your life and turns it into gossip, commentary, and drama for entertainment. 6. Cut off the gossip and drama stirrer who pollutes your peace. This is the one who arrives smiling and leaves poison behind. They bring you news you never asked for, plant doubts in your mind, stir up suspicion, and always disguise it as concern. I'm only telling you because I care about you. I didn't want to say anything, but... And off they go, opening the sewer gently as if they were spraying perfume. The gossip doesn't talk, they manage fires. They need conflict to feel important. If everything is calm, they get bored. So they create tension where there is none. They turn you against someone against you, and then sit back and watch it burn. And if you let them in, you become part of the circuit. Today they bring you someone else's gossip. Tomorrow they bring your business to that same person. And that's how they keep the carousel spinning. At this age, drama is not excitement, it's wear and tear. Your nervous system isn't built for those ups and downs anymore. Peace is routine, clarity, clean silence, and the gossip is the opposite, sticky noise. They pull you into conversations that leave your chest tight, your mind racing, and make you want to respond to things you never even wanted to know. And there's an even uglier detail. The gossip almost never wants the truth. They want a reaction. They want you outraged, scared, hooked. Because while you're busy defending your image or clearing up misunderstandings, they get to feel like the center of the world. And yes, it sounds absurd, but it works because so many people still fall into the trap out of politeness or curiosity. The way out is simple, even if it feels hard at first. Don't give them fuel. Don't ask, "And what did they say?" Don't complete the story. Don't enter the game. Change the subject. Create distance. And if they insist, draw the line calmly. I'm not interested in talking about other people like that. You'll see how uncomfortable they get. Because the gossip can't stand silence. Silence exposes them. And when you clear the drama out of your surroundings, something uncomfortable becomes more obvious. There are people who don't just bring gossip. They bring chaos. Talking isn't enough for them. They need to drag you into habits that break you, into addictions, into self-destructive choices. And that one, if you're not careful, doesn't just contaminate a moment. They steal years from your life. 7. Run from the addict or self-destructive person who wants to drag you into their chaos. This person doesn't just bring problems, they bring a black hole. What they live in is never just a rough patch, it's a lifestyle. They live on impulse, excuses, and decisions that always come with a price tag. And when the bill comes due, guess who they look for? You. Because you're the responsible one. The one who's always there. The one who understands. Right. What a coincidence. Addiction isn't always alcohol or drugs. Sometimes it's drama, gambling, debt, lying, aggression, the need to live on the edge so they don't have to hear themselves on the inside. And the most dangerous part is that they don't offer it to you as a disaster. They offer it as a plan, as if it were normal, as if you were boring for wanting peace, as if your calm was strange and their chaos were really living. And in the middle of a conversation with that person, when they're already tempting you to step where you shouldn't, ask yourself this: why do I have to prove anything to someone who is destroying themselves? Because that's what they do. They poke at your pride, pressure you to give in, mock your discipline, and if you fall, they feel relieved. Now they're not alone in their disaster. Musonius Rufus, a lesser-known Stoic teacher but sharp as a blade, put it plainly when he said, "Whoever cannot govern their simplest appetites will hardly be able to sustain higher decisions." And that's exactly right. If someone can't govern the basics, their life becomes a chain of impulses. And you are not here to be the co-pilot in a crash everyone can see coming. The boundary here isn't moralistic, it's practical. You can love that person, but you do not get on their ride. You do not finance the addiction. You do not lend them your house so they can turn it into a battlefield. You do not get dragged into arguments that end in yelling and regret. And if they call you cold for pulling away, I'm sorry. But at this age, coldness is sometimes intelligence. Because the opposite of love is not distance. The opposite of love is allowing someone to use you as a cushion for the consequences of their bad decisions. And if you stay there, trying to save them again and again, one day you're going to wake up tired, bitter, and with your peace in pieces. And when you finally understand that, you arrive at the most important point of all. The one that supports every boundary, every goodbye, and every guilt-free no. If you don't build this inside yourself, you'll always end up bargaining away your peace for scraps of company. 8. Build self-respect of steel and become your own best friend. Because look, you can identify the complainer, the manipulator, the envious one, the disrespectful one, the parasite, the gossip, and the self-destructive one. But if deep down you still need approval, company at any cost, and the need to keep everyone happy, you'll open the door right back up with the same hand that just closed it. People think self-respect means repeating nice things to yourself in the mirror, like it's some kind of spell. No. Self-respect is behavior. It's how you treat yourself when no one is watching. It's refusing to betray yourself just to please others. It's choosing rest without having to justify it. It's saying, "This is not good for me," and acting accordingly, even when the other person makes a dramatic face. It's understanding that your life is no longer there to be managed by someone else's emotions. And here comes a question many people avoid. Do you actually like yourself when you're alone? Because if you don't, you'll go looking for noise, you'll go looking for people, you'll tolerate shallow conversations and draining relationships just so you don't have to face your own company. And that's when you fall again for the same old people, the ones who drain you and then walk away like nothing happened. Self-respect of steel is built through small decisions repeated over time, respecting your schedule, taking care of your health without bargaining with excuses, saying what you think without attacking, walking away without insulting, choosing silence where you once chose argument, and above all, stopping the habit of over-explaining yourself. Some people don't want to understand you. They want to debate you until they can bend you. With those people, you don't negotiate. You create distance. When you become your own best friend, something changes forever. You stop begging for attention. You stop being afraid that people will get upset. You stop freezing because of what people will say. And strangely enough, that's when peace arrives. Not because the world becomes perfect, but because you finally become steady. And a steady human being is hard to contaminate. And now, with all this in your hands, you have the full map to protect your years, your energy, and your dignity. Because after 60, peace is not a luxury. It's a priority. Reaching 60 and still surrounding yourself with people who drain you is not bad luck. It's a lack of discernment. Peace is not sustained by endless patience. It is sustained by judgment. When you stop justifying the unjustifiable and stop enduring things out of habit, your life becomes lighter. Not because the world changes, but because you stop giving unlimited access to people who do not know how to care for you. Now take this into real life. The next time someone comes to you with endless complaints, guilt disguised as affection, stinging jokes, favors that never end, or dinner table drama, you don't need to fight. You need to decide. Less explaining, more boundaries. Less, "I don't want to look bad," more, "I will not abandon myself." At this age, your energy is your wealth, and anyone who wastes it is stealing something that never comes back. If this video helped put things in order inside you, subscribe and turn on notifications so you can keep training this way of living. And write this phrase in the comments, "I am Stoic." Also, tell me what country you're watching from, because we learn better here when we know we're not alone in this. My name is Gabriel, and this was the Stoic Garden. On your screen, you'll see 2 recommended videos, so you can keep going deeper and close the circle with more clarity and more character. And remember this, calmly but firmly. After 60, your peace is not negotiable.